What's up, nerds? I'm Tom.
I'm Wes.
And today we are talking about founders of... I don't even think I should try. So I've actually heard this been called, like multiple things, or pronounced in multiple ways, right? Like Teotihuacan, Teotihuacan, I'm not going to try. I'm just going to call it founders because I'm just going to sidestep that whole my inability to pronounce it,
And speaking of that word, this is actually based on another game that neither of us have played, but we've heard is awesome.
Right. I've actually heard pretty much nothing but good things. I almost played it. A buddy of mine brought it to the game night and we were about to play it, but we ran out of time. I do know that there's a lot of similarities, right? That we have in here, we have a tower that we're building, and over there's a big tower that you're building, and there's a rondelle type mechanic, and here you move a guy around like this, right? In fact, when we were playing this last night, one of my buddies who's a big fan of the original kept bringing up, oh, this is like that in that game, and this is like that. Oh, this is to mimic that. But we're not going to do that. So you're going to get a fresh take on this game, in no way as it pertains to the game it's sort of based off of.
So Founders really is a worker placement tile laying game. So on the board here, you have 3 different zones that you can place your workers to get these different pieces to build on your board. These guys get you resources that you can use to build these guys. These guys score you points and give you these one-time ability tokens. And then these guys over here are how you build your temple in the middle, or your pyramid, I guess. That score points based on how you have these guys on the board.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting mechanics here. Like he said, in those 3 different sections, there's 3 different spots per section. So there's ultimately 9. Well, I guess in a 4-player game, in a 2-player game, there would only be 2 spots per. But the idea is that you can place multiple workers on a spot, and that's the strength of the action. And it's not just your workers. It is your workers plus another worker, and there's also these little special ability discs on each spot, and that counts towards the strength. So that's a really interesting mechanic of, I might be hoping that you go to a certain spot so that I can go there and I can use your power. But also, if you're the first person to go there, you get that special ability token that you go on. If I go on top of another player, unless I played right on that token, I won't get that ability. So there's a little bit of dichotomy. There's a little bit of dichotomy there, and I think that's really interesting. The way when you place these polyominoes in almost every polyomino game I've ever played, you're always trying to pack them in real tight, like Tetris style. And here, that's kind of not what you want to do for at least for the resource ones, because you place the tile out there, and then you place resource cubes on spaces around it, and that's where you take the cubes from. That's where your resources are. So you're kind of more incentivized to spread those bad boys out, right?
Yeah, the only time you really want to put them together is when you're trying to get these mask zones. Because on the board, there's a side where everyone has an identical board, and then a side where it's all different. But there are these spots with the masks, and if you fill up a whole zone of them, it's worth these little tokens over here, which give you victory points, and then whoever fills up a purple zone first gets more points, and then it's decreasing from there. So it's losing value as the game goes on. But yeah, other than that, there's absolutely zero incentive to clump them together at all.
So there's a lot of little mechanics in here going on, a lot of little twists on things. That in particular was something I've never seen before. The multiple workers thing is something I've kind of seen before, but this does it in a little bit way. When I said the power of your action, it's mostly the size of the building you'll get to build.
You're not limited either, because you could always overspend on these 2 to get bigger things. This orange guy, you almost always have to overspend.
Right.
It costs a brick and a gold, and then however many power you need to make up the deficit between your placement and the 5 here is an extra brick. So a 2 power placement, you just have to put 3 extra bricks in to get the 5.
And you do kind of go left to right on this board, because you need these guys to get the resources to build these guys, which gets you more points, and then these guys here, which score you endgame points here when you build your tower and your your pyramid or whatever, and also whatever you cover up here, you get there's a lot of, and there's one kind of finicky rule about whenever you get something for free, it is you can't use it to cover up mess, just to slow down the ramp on that.
And then the architect that you have moves around your board, so you can only build in one of the quadrants that he's adjacent to. So when he's on this side of the board, you can build in these 2 quadrants, and he moves over and you can build in these 2, which does limit how much you can build, because again, you only have 2 turns in a row that you can build in any specific quadrant before you have to wait for your guy to go around the board and get back to them again. which is good in terms of spreading your pieces out, but it makes like blocking off these little mask areas a little bit more challenging.
So overall, there's a lot of little mechanics kind of mixed together. There's a lot of Venn diagrams in the scoring, lots of ways to get points. There's a lot of cool things going on here, and it's overall good. Like, I like it. It's okay, but probably more than okay. Definitely into the realm of good, but not in the realm of great. Like, I don't think there's any one thing that really, like all those little things I mentioned are cool. Like, I'm like, okay, the way we place the workers out is cool. The de-incentivization to clump your pieces together is cool. The way this works is okay. Nothing like jumps out at me as being like, ooh, that's really new and innovative, and I really like the way that works. And I never really feel like, ooh, I'm scoring all these kinds of combos, and these are great. Like, even in one turn, I was able to place a bunch of stuff. I think I placed a regular tile and 2 single squares, and I filled up, bam, 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 completed 3 mask spaces like back to back, and got 3 of those, the bottom 3 tokens, and I was like, yeah, all right. You know, like, it's good. There's a lot of stuff to like about it, but nothing really jumps out at me. And it's almost like a comment on the landscape of the board games right now is that it kind of has to, because there's just so freaking many. Like, look at all those. Yeah. Look at those. don't cut to a picture.
I'll agree. I think there's a lot here that's fresh. It's a very clean game. It's not clunky at all. A lot of like cool mechanics. I agree. There wasn't a lot of like comboing going on. Everything, for me at least, it felt kind of slow burn. Like you mentioned that one combo you got,
but also you can. I mean, like when you place these out here, you get another one, and then that can do a mask. Like, there's a little bit of combo.
A little bit, but it's not. There's like, for me at least, it wasn't like, it's not combo-y. It's not like crazy. It just, there wasn't a lot of excitement there for me. I think it was definitely enjoyable. It was a good game. I like what they're doing here. I'm happy to play it again, but nothing here jumped out to me like bam, 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 bam.
But what does jump out to me is that I think we both really need to play the original version.
I agree.
Because again, even the guys we were playing with who were big fans of this, they kept saying, "Oh, you guys got to play that." You know, if some of these mechanics are any indication, then you'll definitely like the original version.
If you were able to make this game give a little bit more depth and complexity,
right?
I think I'd appreciate it more, which is my understanding that this is a more streamlined version, or
it's the tile laying version of that game. And this is actually something that we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. It's something that a lot of companies do. We'll take one of their more popular titles, a bigger, more complex game, and they'll try and not rebrand it, but like come out with another version of it, like a dice game version, a roll and write version, a card game version, and this one is a tile laying version. And it's hard, at least for me, it's hard to think of ones, like we had mentioned Fleet the Dice Game, yep. Seven Wonders Duel. You liked Terraforming Mars, Ares Expedition.
Yeah.
But in general, I tend to never like it as much as the original version. You know?
I agree.
But it's almost like because of what it is. It is specifically taking this thing and streamlining it or removing aspects or altering aspects, but trying to keep the heart, yet it's still kind of different. And for me, I just never feel like that works for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're saying. It's definitely a game that if you're excited about it, if you love the original and you're like looking forward to it, I'm not going to discourage you from playing it at all. In fact, people who had played the original game tended to like this one more than we did, I think, because they saw like they had that connection.
I definitely agree with you. I don't want to discourage people from buying it at all. Again, it is good, and especially if you like the original version, I think the main reason why I was a little bit underwhelmed is that because they've just put out so many really good games, they kind of have a lot of bangers. Like Origins and Tabanusi were both pretty great. So I was expecting it to be at that level. But I think it's almost like it's this level of complexity and it's this short and it's this sweet by design. Like they wanted you to have a quicker experience, a less complicated experience with still enough twists in there to keep it interesting. And I think if that was their goal, they nailed it, but I just want a little more, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I'm definitely aligned with that. So if you are looking to check it out, we're going to put a purchase link down in the description box below where you can get yourself a copy.
Or get Origins or Tabanusi, because those are also really good. Down there is a link for Game Toppers. You may have been looking at this table and saying, like, I know that's a Game Topper because I've seen your videos before. Stop talking about it. Not going to stop talking about it. Unless, I don't know, we get another sponsor.
Either way, guys, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
Boom. So I'm just gonna say call it Founders. You know, I'm gonna sidestep that whole shebang. No, I'm not gonna redo that one.
That's perfect.
Greg, what did you think of the game?
It was okay.
Would you buy it?
No. 6 out of 10. It's still fun. It's a good filler game.
Grab the box. Okay, now take the box and shove it